Friends, thank you for joining us for this walk with my girls. And I've just been thinking I'd promised you a video on the three categories of people who should not move to the US yet. Now, I've been doing a lot of thinking and a lot of questions and comments I've gotten. What if I'm earning this amount of money? Now, I've narrowed it down to 150,000 Kenya shillings. Do you think you should move to the US right now or pause if you're earning 150,000 Kenya shillings? Well, that is the discussion we are going to have tonight. After our walk, it reminded me of how moments like such have a way of slowing us down. Because, in my view, I think they make us think clearly, and that's exactly what I want us to do tonight. So, once again, thank you for creating time to be with us. Let us try to be sober, no emotions. Let's just have conversation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me just give you a brief genesis why we created this channel. This channel exists because a few years ago, my wife and I were exactly where many of you are right now. And I totally understand. We were thinking about working in the US, studying in the US, building a future there. And like everyone else, we first went to the YouTube. And yes, there were a lot of content, a lot. But most of it was either too motivational, too scary, or just too general. Information that you can find anywhere. There was nothing that we could sit down and say, these are the numbers, here is the reality, so let us decide. We didn't find one place that could help us make a clear decision without pressure, hype, or fear. And that gap stayed with me for a very long time. That's why this channel exists. Not to convince you to leave and not to convince you to stay, but to give you specific information so that decisions become easier. So that you don't move based on excitement alone. So that you don't regret later and say, if only someone had broken this down for me. So tonight, let's be honest. Let's be calm. If you're earning 150,000 shillings in Kenya and thinking about America, I feel and I believe strongly this conversation might save you years of regret. Again, if you're earning around 150,000 shillings back home and you are thinking, let me just go to America and start afresh. Please, my brother, my sister, pause. I'm not asking you to stop. Just pause for a minute. Just pause. Because I'm not here to kill your dream, but I'm just here to protect you from the shock you will get when you land in the US. Because yes, America can pay you, but America can also finish your salary quietly. And by the time you notice, you are tired, too stressed, and asking yourself, so what exactly am I doing here? Why did I even come to the US? So today, let's talk about numbers, not stories, just numbers. And let us start with scenario one. That is what we know, what we are used with. If you're earning 150,000 Kenya shillings and you're living in Kenya, how would you spend it? Let us try to break it down. Again, this doesn't apply to everyone, but this just applies to my general view of how you would expend it. Now, 150,000 shillings in Kenya is not luxury, but it is something, for me, it is stable. So here is a normal life, nothing fancy, and feel free to sit down with your calculator or a paper and a pen. How much would you spend on rent? In my view, it would be around 35 to 45,000 shillings. Well, nothing is stuck on stone. You can still even spend 20 or 15,000, depends with what you are looking at and the size of your family. So let's just work with my maths. Assume you're going to spend on rent 35,000 to 45,000. Item 2, Food and household basics. How much would you spend? Let's do an average of 30,000 to 40,000 for a medium-sized family. And then let's spend 10,000 shillings to 20,000 on transport. Tokens, water, Wi-Fi, data, let's allocate 10,000 for that. And then NIF and anything medical, I mean the SHIF and the SHA, all those clinic visits. Let's say by God's grace, you don't fall too sick or nothing comes on your way or you don't need to go to emergency and you're only going to spend 5,000 shillings. And also, let's assume you are helping home a little bit. Either you have some school fees or family or your parents, and we allocate some 5,000 for that. At least with all that expenditure and what you get in Kenya, you are living and you can breathe. And if you are disciplined, not perfect, if you are disciplined, you still can manage to put aside 20 to 30,000 on either your SACCO, MF, or even a biashara or something that you're planning to do you can decide to save for 2 or 3 years and have some reasonable amount of money to do some business. So in my view, in Kenya, even when things are tight, you can still say, I am building something. That is, if you understand what I mean. Let us go to scenario 2. Same situation for someone who is living in the US. Let's be realistic. A very common starting wage anywhere in the US is around $18 per hour. Well, places like New York, it can go as high as $40 an hour. But again, remember your life and how you're going to expend that money is equivalent to that $40 an hour. So I want to try to use the nationwide average. If you are earning $18 an hour, that is not poverty wage, neither is it a higher wage. So let's do some maths. And if you have your calculator, let's just go slowly by slowly. Normal hours will give you about $2,800 gross per month. But of course, as most of the immigrants, you will not stop there. You are going to take overtime, take weekends, and you will take double shifts. That's how many people push it to around $4,000 gross per month. Sounds good? Right. So let us pause again. If you are going to earn $4,000, that is after you've done your doubles and you've done any available shift in the weekends, you have been paid $4,000. Please note you've not paid off the taxes. So after the taxes, again, depending on the state and the city you live, you are only going to be left with $3,000 to $3,200 in your pocket. And now, this is where America starts talking back to you. Now, we've said that what you have to expend is around $3,000 to $3,200 in your pocket. So let us now start spending this money. On your rent, again, this differs depending on where you live. On average, with that kind of income, you will be spending around $700 to $1,000. So I decided to average it at $900. And then you need to get to work and come back to your house. You are either going to use Uber or Lyft. In most circumstances, for your convenience, you will have to use a car. And if you're using a car, you probably have a car note. A car note is simply a car loan, something you have to pay continuously. It's like taking something on, what's the best term? Taking something on, I'm missing the term, but paying on a monthly basis. So you are going to have a car note. Actually, the term is paying on installments. So you are going to have a car note, insurance for the car, and the fuel. On average, I gave that one $700. Again, this can go as up as $1,100. You have not eaten, my friend and my brother and my sister. So let's say that you are cooking at home and you are behaving yourself, you are not eating a lot of junk. That's going to cost you about $300 to $400. What about your phone and internet? And of course, I know it's not like home where you can buy airtime or bamba for 20 shillings or 30 or 40 and still keep your phone and your service. Here in the US, it's a post pay, so it's charged to your bills every month. Again, this changes. Myself, I pay, I think, around $50. Somewhere else, it's going to be $80. So I decided to use the nationwide average, which is $80. Friends, let's move forward. You are going to have to pay insurance. That is $200 to $300. You still have laundry, toiletries, small emergencies, and of course, life happens. When you add up all of this, honestly, you are almost at around $2,500 to $2,700. So yes, on a good month, assuming there's no emergency, you've not sent any money at home to your siblings or your parents or anyone who is depending on you, you just have $400 or at max $500. But let's be honest and ask yourself this quietly, pole pole. When does nothing go wrong for Aulia? When can you say that there's nothing that has happened this month? There's always an issue going on with your car, with your ER emergency, or maybe you fall sick, or maybe you are tired and you are going to miss some shifts, meaning you are not going to be able to earn as much as all those other months. That's how you end up that you don't have any savings. So all savings are gone. Let us look for another. Let's look into another scenario. What happens if you have a family? Because I've only looked to the scenario when you're just alone, living alone. Now, what happens if you have a family like myself? This is the part that most people avoid. If you have a family, first, this is just a caveat. In my own view, if you have young kids, it's really hard to fully rely on taking them either to school or for daycare. Somehow you'll have to find a balance between someone doing more hours than the other. Nonetheless, let's assume you have a family. You have two kids or just one baby. Automatically, you must have a two-bedroom. And the national average for a two-bedroom is between $1,600 to $2,400, or sometimes even $1,200. But let's use the national average at $1,600. I am not going to mention all those other items, but ideally with the family, what happens? Everything is going to double or triple. So your food is going to double, the funds are going to multiply, healthcare enters into the room. Anywhere from $600 to $1,200, you will have to, you're going to spend on healthcare. Again, depends with your employer scenario. Then childcare. And this is where America goes quiet on you. Childcare can cost you between $800 to $2,000 per child in a month. And if you think I'm lying, just Google and check, or talk to people who are abroad and ask them, how much is it going to take you to pay for daycare for an entire month for one child? So let me say this clearly. For families, America doesn't just want rent from you. It wants healthcare, and childcare. Those two do not negotiate. When you add everything conservatively, a family can easily hit around $6,000 per month in expenses. So let's say if it is just one person working in that family, and let's refer to what you can be able to earn as the individual. Again, there are high-paying jobs like nurses in specialty fields or tech guys in specialty fields, but I'm trying to talk about everyone else in most of us as immigrants. So if your take home was $4,000 and your expenditure already is $6,000, you can see clearly you are in the negative of $2,000. But if you decide that both mama and the baba is going to work, then if you both earn $4,000, so that's going to be $8,000. If you take off $6,000 from it, that's $2,000. Now, emergencies and any kind of thing and the support at home, again, you are drowning. Whichever the case, you are drowning. Now, 150,000 Kenya shillings will give you stability in Kenya, in my opinion. You will have some savings, you have a community, you have direction, and in America, $18 or $20 per hour will give you bills, deadlines, pressure, and the dangerous part, you can look successful online. You can be an admiration to your society, your community, your friends back home. But privately, you are ideally living paycheck to paycheck. So hear me clearly. If you are earning 150,000 Kenya shillings in Kenya, don't rush to America to start from zero unless you have a clear plan. And by clear plan, I mean this. You have skills, and not just skills in specialty fields. You have a clear paperwork strategy. You have a job path that beats all these survival wages that we have talked about. Because if you are leaving stability to chase uncertainty, how do you call that, friends? Again, if you are leaving stability to chase uncertainty, what would you call that, my friends and viewers? So if you are in Kenya and you are earning 150,000 Kenya shillings, I want to ask you a question. Would you leave it right now after the conversation we've had? And if you are already in America, after paying your rent, your car note, insurance and food, and sending some money back home, are you really saving anything? So I want to see your comments and what you think about this topic. Thank you so much, friends, for creating time to join me tonight and daytime, wherever you are. And I really want to appreciate you and thank you for our previous episode 1 video that has hit about 1,300 viewers. I really appreciate you and value, and I hope that you find time to watch this and share it and subscribe it. And I believe that you are going to grow because of your love. Thank you so much, and may God bless you and enjoy your day. Bye.